Hi guys, this is Rob from Ruinworks, back again with the March 2023 release number 2. I call this release the Lurkers Caves. This month I've tried to incorporate a couple of suggestions from you, my patrons, for what kind of scene you wanted to see. So I tried to make some caves that could be used for goblins or other humanoids, and also I tried to keep the passageways a bit wider in this scene. A 2-level scene, level 0 here and level -1. I've got these little notes around the edge of the map indicating 4 quadrants, quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. So essentially if you split the map into 4 equal-sized areas, that's what each quadrant represents. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see what it's like. I've tried to select all the base options here, so just a natural cavern. And you can see it is a 35 by 35 square scene. Main idea behind this scene is to make a customizable dungeon. What do I mean by customizable? Well, each of the 4 quadrants can be isolated from the other 3. So that means I've included special tiles which will cut off or connect different sections of the dungeon. So you could make out of this one map 4 17 by 17 2-level dungeons, or any combination therein. So just to give you an example, I'm going to go down here. This is kind of the border between the quadrant 3 on the bottom left and quadrant 4 on the bottom right. And if I go to my little yellow divider box, right now the divider is open, but if I click it, you can see a wall appears, and also walls appear there as well. So in this way, you can block off this entire portion of the dungeon. And you can do that up here at Q3M as well by hitting the close button. And now you can see quadrant 3 has been blocked off from the rest of the map. And so you can just use this portion of the dungeon. I will note, because it is a 2-level dungeon, there is a bottom half to this portion, and there is another Q3-4 connector here which you would have to close specifically for this one area. But now you can see even the bottom level is fully disconnected from the rest of the map. So the idea here again is just to give you guys a fully customizable dungeon, so you can make it as big or small as you want. Additionally, I have given you the options for 4 different entrances into the dungeon. So if you don't like where I place the entrance, you can choose one of the other 4 options. So the 4 options here are Q3 entrance in the bottom right. Right now it's open. If you hit the close button, it just closes off, and now it's just kind of a dead end in the dungeon. For Q4, if you hit the Q4 entrance ladder out, it'll just add this little ladder in the bottom right corner, and this is where you can also enter this section of the dungeon. Quadrant 2, there's the entrance here, hitting closed. Again, we'll just make it a dead end. And then lastly, if you go to room A, you can see Q1 entrance. If you click on that, it'll provide an entrance in the top left of the scene and add a bridge, and also adding a ladder and an interaction point so you can climb up and down from it. For now, I'll go through each of the quadrants and just kind of highlight some of the different options you have available to you and how each of the quadrants can be separated. Okay, so I just got around the map, made sure everything is at its base option, which is just the pure cavern. And what we're looking at right now is essentially quadrant 1. Takes up this top left portion of the map. Each of the rooms are labeled. Room A, here it's the top half of this chamber. The options for the cavern, the entrance, and also a goblin throne, where there's a bit of a goblin throne placed on top of the stalagmite. And also lights and interaction points are added when you select that. Moving down to room B, where now that it's on the cavern option, you can also put the dining hall, or bandits where goblins might choose to eat, and also a monster den where I feel like it might be a good place for a dire bear, or maybe some sort of monster that whoever occupies these caverns has tamed. The quadrant 1-2 divider appears at this Q1-2, so if you want to separate them, you can just hit the close button, and then the walls will change as well. Room E, this room you can also select to have as a sleeping area or to have a ritual stone. And lastly, for Q1, we have the Q1 middle divider, so you can put it as closed, and then it'll cut off this portion of the map as well. I'll mention here, this central chamber is a bit of a nexus of the map. All 4 quadrants connect to it, and all 4 quadrants can be isolated from it. So this is another area where you can decide to cut off different quadrants from the rest of the map. I will note for this Q1M, as you can see, when you put on the solid wall, Also included a secret door here, so if you want to make it that your players can discover or move through to the rest of the dungeon, there is a secret door here. And there's also another option for Q1M, which is just rubble. So maybe whoever lives in the dungeon has blocked this off manually, or maybe it's just a collapse, and you could pull away the rubble, and that's the secret door that players are able to dig through. Going over to Quadrant 2, that is roughly this portion of the map. Again, the Q1-2 divider. Room B, you can either add a campfire or some illicit goods. Room C in the top right, you can make it overgrown, or you can have kind of an old ritual area where there's statues and a stone throne. Down here at Q2M, this is Quadrant 2 middle divider. I've added a secret door in this one as well. If you use the rubble one, I feel like the goblins might have decided to block this portion of the dungeon off because they're afraid of whatever is beyond. The Q2 entrance here on the far right, you can just close that off, so there's no exit or entrance. Lastly, the Q2 to Q4, so top right to bottom right quadrants can be isolated here. Go over to Q3 now. Q3 is where I imagine the dungeon actually starting, so in the bottom left here. We'll start off with room F here. Just add a campfire. Going over to G, you can add in a ladder up here. So this isn't another level, but I have used one-way walls to delineate where the upper part and the bottom part are. And when you select the ladder option, the wall by the ladder becomes ethereal essentially, so you can walk through it. So if somebody wants to climb the ladder, there's nothing blocking them, even though they can't see above the ladder. Going over to room H, you can add a torch with the light, or you can place a skeleton there. Room I, this is the entrance here. You can add some crates and garbage. Moving over to room J, we can add some mushrooms here if you want. And then here, the Q3-4 divide, you can just close that off. It just makes it a dead end. And the U there means it's for the upper level. There is a separate one to divide Q3 and Q4 on the lower level. Then lastly for Q3, at the middle, Q3M, you can isolate this section of the map by hitting the close button there. Q4. Okay, we've already discussed the Q2-4 and Q3-4 dividers here, so I'll just go over everything else. Room K pretty much takes up this entire area, which I call the Warrens. The Room K options at the bottom, you can either select the cavern, which is showing right now, Ant Warren, which changes the walls to include holes where I imagine ants either store food or buried larvae. And then lastly, for area K, you can choose the spider's nest, which will add webs to the ground and also an overhead tile, make the webs appear over your tokens. The Q4 entrance, mentioned this briefly before, this will add a ladder. Lastly, I'll just mention this trap here at active tile 1 in the red. If you go to the red control panel down here, you can activate or deactivate the trap. It will teleport whichever token enters the hashed area to room O directly below, and a hole will appear and the sound will play. Okay, I've brought out a token, and as soon as he steps onto the trap, the game pauses. The GM has sent a message saying a token has stepped onto the pit trap. Do you want to activate the trap and send the token to -10? If you hit yes, a sound plays and the token is moved to the elevation -10. So now they're on layer below. Since I'm on this level, I'll go through a level -1. So we have the Ant Warren variation of room O and also the Spider's Nest variation. Moving slightly to the left here, you can see the divider for Q3-4 lower. Just hit close, it'll add a wall here. Quadrant 3, room N, there is the option to add stalagmites. If you just click on stalagmite buttons, it will add extra stalagmites to this room. Directly above this, on level 0, is room F, and you can access it via this hole. So where I say levels drop to 0 to -10, if anybody steps into here, it'll simply drop them down to the next level. It will not allow you to climb back out this way. So just a note, levels drop is a one-way teleport only. And here at room 1, you can add a refuse pile. Would imagine the people guarding above in room F would just dump whatever garbage they had down the hole and forget about it. You could also just place a skeleton leaning against the wall here instead. Q1-3 divider, like all the other dividers, so you can isolate, again, different sections of the map. And lastly, room L, this is the bottom portion of this room A on level 0. and you can just add a camp to the bottom here. Another thing that's cool about the divider is it allows you to direct your players. So if you're starting down here, for instance, in Q3, you could close off Q3M, Q3 for upper. So I'll just close them off. So now players can enter down here from the bottom left, come in and explore these few rooms. There's no way through, except they can go down this chute here. So we go down to level -1, they would appear here. Now we don't want them to head directly up, say, so we can close that off. And now they can explore down the passages of this part of QA, and as long as we leave Q3-4 lower open, they can either climb up these cliffs into quadrant 4 or take these stairs, we'll say take these stairs up to level 0. Now they would appear here. There's two choices again, so we'll close one of them. Let's say we'll make them go over to quadrant 3 this time. You can close the quadrant 1M, and now they're directed to go this way. And if you leave this open, they can now have access to the rest of quadrant 1. So you can really form the dungeon to give them a direct path, or you can make it so there's different ways they can go. So I think this is actually a very customizable map, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys like it too. So that's it for me today. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like the wider passages, or if it doesn't make much of a difference to you. Let me know if you like the idea of the customizable dungeon like this. And otherwise, I hope you enjoy it and have fun playing your games. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.